Divine greetings, entities, energies, lovelies, bodies of light, seekers, and sojourners of truth, the 144, chosen of the chosen few. I greet you all in the love that lights the truth from my heart to yours. I am Akila Textry, in the divine energy essence of it all, reporting to you live from 5D, straight from the fifth dimensional consciousness. Speaking of dimensions, that's what we're going to be talking about. And as usual, I bring you the news to infuse if you so choose. So let's infuse with this light, get on this light grid activation, and activate our light grid of our soul, right? The dimensional timeline. So this is a part 2, actually. When I did about maybe 2 or 3 videos ago, the dimensional lines within our lifetime, right? Excuse any noise you may hear in the background. People do things at odd hours sometimes. I'm thinking it'll be a little bit more chill, but we go with what we go with, right? So the dimensional timelines within our lifetime, because there are these dimensional timelines, and I spoke about it before. I have some information in that. If you didn't get a chance to, check out that first one about the dimensional lines within our lifetime. And I will also put the link in the bottom below, just so you have that link as well. So with no further ado, let's go into these dimensional timelines as it pertains to the palindrome, right? I want to say this because right now we're in the middle of this vortex with the palindrome numbers from 420 to 429, and I did a video on that. I may put that video in as well, so you can look out for 2 videos that I have done that pertain to what I'm talking about right now. That's the palindrome and the dimensional timelines, part 1. So with this one, I'm giving a deeper explanation, and as well as doing a follow-up, catch-up, fix-it video, because the video that I did blacked out for those of you who saw it. The audio was still going, but the visual went. So with that, I'm making up some of that with some new information to add to it. So this is in regards to the dimensions, right? So most of us know dimensions being these other levels, these other realms. Many of us may define it as different things, right? It's not just a dimension as in one particular place. We have to remember this is a multi-dimensional explanation here, and we have to understand that we live in a multi-dimensional world, right? We live in a room with rooms within rooms. Our Father's mansion has many rooms, dimensions, right? This is how I like to look at dimensions, dimensions. So dimensions are the many realms within realms, right? As mansions within mansions on many levels, like I just said. So let's look at these dimensions as you hear me talk about it. Look at it as realms within realms, rooms within rooms, mansions within mansions, and on so many levels. That means it speaks to so many different compartments of our soul, so many compartments of our world, right? So these dimensional days that I've been explaining about the palindrome, each day has like a number code, right? If you add up the number of those days, which I'm going to explain to you a little bit further as well, the number 420 24, when you add that up for that day, it will equal 12. You reduce that number, it's to 3. So there's a reduced number. We're looking at the reduced numbers of each of these days from 420 to 29. That reduced number is the code of that day, of what I would call the code. That code is the dimensional day. The dimensional day. Okay, y'all don't go looking these up. These are things that I get, my downloads that I share with you. This is nothing that I read in a book or studied. I studied inside my soul in the book of life within, and I share with you some of the downloads that I get, although I may need to put it in a book. So these dimensional days kind of highlight when you understand what each dimension is as a step. As I've mentioned before, it's like a step in our process, almost like the manifestations from the crown going down, which is a creative process. Kind of look at that with the dimensions. They are a cycle. The 9 dimensions, the infinite 9, right? Understanding the 3 main gates of these 9 dimensions are 3, 6, 9, the 3 main portal gates. But each dimension means something, each single one, right? Starting with the first to the second to the third, and when you understand it, you understand what these dimensions are telling you. So I utilize it as to be intentional in going through this palindrome, which is 10 days. 10 means new beginnings, beginning something new, and the theme of this is 12. All right, the theme of this cycle, which I explained before, this 10 days, new beginnings, the theme is 12, which is a cyclical completion. So whatever we have come from or are coming into some type of cycle, that's what we want to focus on while we're in this vortex, right? What you put in any portal or vortex is what you get out. When you plug into that hot spot and be intentional and become intentional, that's what you get out of the vortex, right? You will feel something compound upon that. That I can guarantee, but it works if you work it. You can't just jump in the vortex and say, woo, I'm in the vortex. Woo, I'm in the portal. What did you do? Pre-portal, pre-vortex, and what are you doing intentionally while you are in that portal or in that vortex to amplify and magnify what is to come to you in your soul unfolding journey, right? So these dimensional days within this palindrome are steps, right? Are steps that are guiding us through this process of the new beginnings in the theme of 12. So it's guiding us through this, which is the cyclical completion. Each day gives us a clue. Each single day gives us a clue of what we are to focus on in the vortex, right? It's a dimensional access to the codes within the vortex. So these codes, these dimensional days, it's messages that are coming for you, through you, if you can access it. It's like the dimensions are giving us access. When you understand the dimension, when you understand, understand, to understand. Did I say that right? Let me say that again. Understand, meaning standing under the principles. To overstand, meaning to stand over your personal biases. To understand, to gain that understanding within, to take it within, right? So when we do that, we tap into the vortex and we get what we need to get for us, right? So this is each day having a dimensional meaning. So understanding the dimensions helps you to get that, right? So what I'm going to go over now are the days, and I'm going to post this as well. I will post these days just so you can see the codes and what I'm talking about, right? So 420 equals 12, right? And the numbers that we're counting is the 4, the day, which is 20, and the year 24, not 2024, just 24, because this is how you get the palindrome, right? So you'll get 12. It starts with 12. You may get it if I put 2024 as well, but this is how it came to me, so I'm sharing that with you. So the code for that day is 3. 3 is creative completion. The next day adds up to 13. That's the 21st. The 22nd adds up to 14. The 23rd adds up to 15. The 24th adds up to 16. Right? And of course, we're going by the codes of these days. So 12 is 3. 13 is 4. 14 is 5. 15 is 6. 16 is 7, because you're counting you're reducing the number. 6 for 16, 6 and 1 is 7. So as you see, it starts at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's up to the 24th. And then on the 25th, which is this day, we have 17, which equals 8. Right? On the 26th, you have 18, which equals 9. On the 27th, you have 19, which equals 10. The 9 and the 1 is 10. The 28th, you have 20, which equals 2. So from the 10, see, this is something I have to explain. The last 3 days, I'm going to hold it right there. I'm going to go up to the 9, right? Because within a completive cycle, this is something else we must understand, that within a cycle, there is 12. But within that, there's the 9. There's a spiritual completion of 9 plus 3. That extra 3 is what I call this ReSpiritivity, right? The extra 1, 2, 3, where we should be respiriting, right? As we just did the respiriting months at the end of the year. So the first 9 months are the completion, right? And you'll see as you work out the days and you look at the dates, you'll see how the last 3 equals that 1, 2, 3. So the codes that we're going to look at is 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 9. Right? So 3 is a creative completion. It's also the first main gate, the first main portal, right? The 3, 6, and the 9, right? Remembering that the 3, 6, and 9 is always in the infinite of time. If you look at that infinite loop, like I said before, you'll see the 3, the 6, and the 9, right? So this is definitely a part of this infinite existence. So creative completion is the 3. This is where the 2 harmonize and become the 3. So you see, we start out with the 3, right? And within these 10 days, to be honest, we start with the 3 and we end with the 3. Meaning we start with a 12, and this is like the starting and the ending itself is a palindrome in itself. It's like a mirrored number, like you see 12 to 21, like a flip from 12 to 21. The first number is 12, right, which reduces to 3. And on the last day, the 29th, when you add that up, it's 21, which still reduces to 3, the 2 plus the 1. So it's like a 3 to 3. So we're seeing, they're telling us something. You're seeing clearly the creative completion is all up in the midst of this. Every step of the way, you will have the creative completion. You will have the creative activity, which is about creating. You will have the Trinity. When you see that creative completion, it really involves the Trinity, the masculine, feminine energy, which harmonizes to bring the one. So the 1 and 2 and 3 are pretty much all inclusive. When you see that 3, that's why we start with the 3. You see that we're starting with the creative completion, which includes the harmony and it includes the 1, right? So the 4 foundational balance, right? So the next day is 4. So that day is the foundational balance. So we're looking at the balance of 4, what 4 sets, what sets the foundation for us. This could mean different things for some of us. Some of us may have been seeing the numbers 4, 4, 4, or whatever it is that may have stood out where you understand the foundational balance. There's something here in the theme of that day that is standing out as the foundational balance, right? And the experience of the third, the creative completion, the third dimension, because that's what that 3 is. That 3 represents the third dimension. I forgot to mention that. So that code day of 3 is the dimensional day of 3, representing the third dimensional aspect. So this is when we look at dimensions as having a meaning. It symbolizes something. It represents something. It's giving you access to some codes, to some meanings by just understanding the dimensional aspect. So 5, going from 4, because 4 represents that fourth dimension, the 4-dimensional foundational balance, which is still experiencing time, right? So it's expanded 3D from the creative completion into time, and time is set in the, let's say, the 4 corners of the earth. Time is a part, the divine time is a part of this foundational balance, if you can understand that, right? The next day is 5, right? This is the 22nd, the number is 14, the code is 5. So this dimensional aspect is a 5th dimensional aspect, physical, spiritual balance, right? And speaking of the 5th dimension is about, let's say, expressions is the best way I could explain it. It's really about recording, but it's because everything is being recorded every day in the expressions of time, right? So it's expanding 3D to 4D to 5D at this step, at this level, and at this step you are an expression. Everything is being recorded and expressed. It's a two-way street. It's all out there. It's the energetic field that is all out there, the atmospheric field, as I like to call it, right? So that's the 5D dimensional aspect. So on this day, you're looking at the physical spiritual balance. This is the balance between also the masculine, feminine. This is the balance, the harmony that is needed through this creation and experience of time as it is being expressed. 5 dimension. Faithfully, you get what I'm saying, right? So that would be what that day is like. So you would be looking for this balance in whatever it is that you are seeing as a full cycle. Remember, keeping our mind focused on what the theme is, which is a cyclical completion. So seeing what is come to a completion, or what is coming to a completion, we're keeping that as the overhead focus as we look at these different steps and days. So as that focus, what is the 5th dimensional aspect for you? Where is there a physical spiritual balance for you that you are seeing, right? Or where is it that you need to see it? Are you looking for it? Or is it coming out to you? Is something standing out to you about this balance? The next one, the 23rd, is 15. On that day, the code is 15. The reduced code day is 6. Sixth dimension, sixth dimensional aspect is existing in the knowing. This is about receptivity and submission. So at this step, at this dimensional step, at this dimensional access code, it is for us to now really observe, bear witness, sit back, receive, sit back and just be receptive and receive what you need to see, what has come out of the creative completion, the expression of it, the experience of it that came into expression. Now that you have seen the third, fourth, fifth dimensional aspect, at the sixth dimension, which is again a major portal, major gateway within the 9, this is a middle point, and this is a point where we just sit back and we take in what has come up through all of that in the creative activity. 3, 4, 5 is all about the creative activity, the expression of the creative activity, which incorporates 3D to 4D into 5D. But it's a lot of doing. The creative activity is really more of a masculine energy, and the receptive activity is more of a feminine energy, universally speaking, coming from the stars even onto Earth, right? So this creative activity is kind of incorporated in those 3-dimensional aspects, 3, 4, 5. It's really more focused on the creative activity. Not that it's absent of the receptive activity, but it's more heavily based in the creative activity. So when you get to 6, it's like going through that main portal gateway, and it's into receptivity. And it takes a lot of spiritual maturity also to work on that, to accept that, because most of us are just ready to do. But this is where it's time for us to just receive, take in the information. What is this for me? And just exist in the knowing, allowing your existence to be, because of what you know, because of what you've gained awareness of. You're just existing in the knowing and being observant and bearing witness. So that's 6. 7, the next one, the next day, which would have been yesterday, the 24th, is 16 reduces to 7. 7 is the 7th dimensional aspect. It's about manifestation. It is about the return to completion, right? Through manifestation, the return to where we've come from, the creative completion, but in a manifested form. Like it brings manifestation. It shows how we bring into manifestation after the receptivity step. If you notice that once we sit back and we just allow, we're receptive, we're submissive to the divine energies, to the divine flow. And by doing so, now you are trusting the divine energy to match you where you are, right? We are co-creators. So we match, we do our part to create from our aspect through the creative activity. And when we submit through the receptive activity, that is us saying, okay, now it's, I allow the energies to match me where I am. This is where we trust the universe. So through that act, here comes the manifestation, and that is the 7th dimensional aspect. So on this day, you're looking for how you may have manifested something. How can you manifest? You may more look at what has been manifested or is being manifested through some type of return to completion, right? So because you've trusted through the 6th dimensional aspect, you are now seeing the return to completion of that, right? So that would be the 7th. The next one, which would be today, the 25th, is 17. 17 is the number, the code is 8. And 8, one of my favorites, 8 is infinite existence. 8 is infinity, as most of you may know. 8 is infinity, so it's infinite existence. And it is about repetition. It's about doing it over and over and over again, and again and again and again. It is really echoing our infinite existence of time, right? And how we constantly get the opportunity to do something over and over again. Infinite existence. So this, I say, and this is so beautiful because today I just responded to somebody. Thank you again for the new subscribers that came in. I responded to some comments today, and one of them I was saying, and I didn't even know today, I didn't know that today was the 8th dimensional day, in the code, and I was saying to them that there was something in their response where I let them know that that's an 8th dimensional aspect, like something about repetition, doing it over and over again. And I was like, that's great, that's repetition, that's the 8th dimensional aspect, and it's repetition, seeing something over and over again, doing something over and over again. This is what we do in our infinite existence of life. We come here over and over and over again. In our personal growth, we learn lessons over and over and over again in our lifetime, in our specific lifetime. So you got to look at it at levels, right? In multiple lifetimes, we come here, lifetime after lifetime, we have the opportunity to do it again and have another point. Each dot, a line is dots, as I said. So if you look at each dot as a snapshot on the infinite loop, and each dot as a lifetime, this lifetime, that lifetime, that lifetime, and you just keep going and keep going. So you see this infinite line. That would be how many times? That is our infinite existence, that our soul, you know, comes in each lifetime. If you take it in a little bit more from the macro to the micro and bring it in into this specific lifetime, look at all your experiences as a different lesson, you know, of the same, maybe the same thing. We learn a lesson over and over and over again. We get this infinite opportunity to learn a lesson on this infinite loop. And I know some people may get tired of it, but it is a grace that we're afforded by the divine. Our infinite existence is our grace. So you get the opportunity over and over and over again. And when we respect this infinite existence, it's almost like another form of receptivity and submission. It's like, and you just relax into it and you accept it. You accept this infinite life. You finally get to see it on a level where you truly can appreciate it. Because everybody say they want to live eternally, but they don't quite look at it like this. But this is it. And when we embrace it, we know that our opportunity to come here over and over again is great. And our opportunity to be here in this lifetime and learn a lesson over and over and over again until we get it right, because we're evolving. So we may learn it at this level. This is why I talk about the dimensions. We may learn it at this dimensional level, and then we have to learn it again at this level. We're constantly evolving and spiraling up in an upward spiral. If you're not, you're on a flat line spiral and you're just going around and around and around and you're not getting anywhere, right? So we want to loop up, which is how I see the purpose of the 9 dimensions. 1 through 9, you should get to somewhere here, and then you loop up again and go again. 1 through 9 on another level, 1 through 9 on another level, then we transition. And it's like that from the minute, from the micro to the macro. Meaning even in our lifetime, in our lessons, we loop, we learn and loop and learn and loop and transition. Now think about that in multiple lifetimes, remembering that transition is what we call death. So we do what we're supposed to do 1 through 9 in our entire lifetime. In this lifetime, there's a 1 through 9. And when we get there, there's a transition and we loop out. Our soul transitions, loops out, loops up, come back and do it again. That's just in this lifetime, right? On a more micro level within this lifetime, we learn things at different levels in a 9-dimensional aspect. 1 through 9, oh, learned that lesson, loop up. 1 through 9, learned that lesson, loop up, right? So it doesn't always mean end of a life. I just want to clarify that, right? You may have a 1 through 9 dimensional lesson, dimensional lifeline, dimensional line within your lifetime, and it doesn't mean you die. It doesn't mean the end of it. It just means the end of that particular lesson at that level. Then you loop up, you transition and you loop up and you keep going, right? These bugs. That's why I like to do this more in the day. So that's 8. The next day will be 26. That's tomorrow. It's 18. And that is 9. The 8 and 9. So the code of that is 9. And this is spiritual completion. This is the restored to perfection aspect. This is where we come back to the point of balance and the restored to our restored perfection. Where we come from perfection, right? From the one, perfection, the one, the source, perfection. And then we get from 1 to 9, and 9 is like back at restored perfection. We remember through all these steps, we completely understand, especially through the infinite existence, through 8, we completely understand the awness of it all. And then at 9, we go, okay, this is it. This is the I'm restored to perfection. I know who and whose I am at this level, at another level, you know, at my higher self level, on so many levels. But if I'm just to keep it within these steps and what we're focusing on, because some of us could be looking at this at different levels, and that's okay. There's no right or wrong. That's why I said it's very multidimensional. But to bring it in, if we're just looking at keeping the focus of the cyclical, the theme of cyclical completion, the theme of 12, in this new beginnings vortex and what it's affording us, look at what you have coming into fullness, into that full cycle, what's coming full circle for you, right? So at the 9th step, which would be, you know, tomorrow, that would be looking at the completion of it, the restored to perfection. How do we see the return to this restored perfection? How do we see this showing up for us? Are we just receiving the perfection, right? Are we grateful? Even today, are we grateful for the repetition? What has been repeated to us, right? In our full cycle of whatever was coming up for us, this is where we should have an outlook on, are you grateful for what has been repeated to you over and over again, as annoying as it may seem? And when you find the gratitude in it, you change your perspective as well. And this is what brings you back to your restored perfection, because we only become imperfect because of our perception of imperfection, if that makes sense, right? We are perfect beings living in a world of imperfections, and we look through the lens of imperfection through our perceptions. But when you go through these levels, these dimensional access to the codes within our lifeline, within our lifetime, and we see a new perspective, and we see how true that we are infinite beings living an infinite existence and being returned onto our perfection, right? Then that changes your perception of who you are, how you exist, what you are creating, what you are bringing into the world and into this manifold of life, right? So the dimensions are a beautiful thing. So it doesn't stop at 9. That is tomorrow, and we have 3 more days. Now, the thing I wanted to show us about these 3 days is the 27th. The 27th equals 19, right? But the 1 and 9 is 10. 10 is really 1, right? The 1 and the 0. So the code for that day wouldn't be really considered 10. It would be more considered 1. The 28th is 20. When you add it up, it's 20. And that 20 is considered 2, right? And if you look at that 2, it's a 1 and a 1. So it can also be looked at 11, right? Which, again, if you had count up some numbers and you got the number 11, it would be reduced to 2. So it's still saying the same thing, 2. So that number code would be 2. And the last day on the 29th, it's 21, and the 2 and the 1 is 3. So what I'm saying to you is the last 3 days are 1, 2, 3. So this is how it ends on a 3. And what you see is the ReSpiritivity of 3, which completes the cycle of 12. So there's something else being said here within these dimensional lines. Usually the dimensions just go up to 9, and then you go back around. The next dimension that you may say dimension 10 is really dimension 1 of the next level, right? If you said dimension 11, it would really be dimension 2 of the next level, right? And so on and so on. So when you look at that, you see 1, 2, 3, and this is how it is at the end of 12. When you're looking at a cyclical completion, you see 1 through 9, spiritual completion, and then put another 3 on it. And that's your ReSpiritivity, being able to respirit, return to spirit, and respirit what you've gotten out of the completion of 9 as you go back into a next cyclical 12, right? This cycle is something that we must look at when we're looking at a complete 12, whether it's around the clock, around the calendar, 1 through 12. Those 12 is always a completion of 9 with a space to respirit that 1, 2, 3. And remember that 1, 2, 3 is all inclusive of that creative completion. right? And if you notice, the major portals 369 is always 3 3 3 all the way up to 9. So even up to 12, it's another 3. So what you see is the repetition of a creative completion over and over again. 1 through 3, 1 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. That creative completion brings us, you know, you compound it and it brings us to 9, the spiritual completion of the creative completion being repeated 3 times. So if you notice, that's why when it gets to 9, it is spiritual completion, because it's 3 times. And again, there's power in that number 3. 1 2 3, 1 2 3. So I just wanted to highlight that as we're looking at that. Look at that. And those of you who are into numbers, you know, look at that as well. When you're looking at calendars, to the number 12, when you're looking at dimensions, understand that 1 2 3. And if you see that cycle, you don't got to take my word for it. Do the math. If you'll see that cycle over and over again, you'll see the numbers 1 through 9, 1 through 9 repeating itself over and over again. And you'll usually in a 12, in a cyclical 12, you will always see 9 and 3 more. 1 2 3. So that's what this highlights. So with that, faithfully, I added some more, because I didn't break this down like this in the first one, but there's some more information in the first one that may be a little bit different from here. But I wanted us to understand these dimensional days. I wanted to make sure I give it to us, and it's, you know, right where we're at the halfway point for those of us in the vortex. What we doing in the vortex, in this little 10 new beginnings plus 10 vortex with these palindrome numbers. Look into it and see, you know, what's been popping for you. If any of you have been paying attention to the videos, like, I would like to hear from you. If you see any of these, any numbers that jumped out at you, do you see the significance in these days, as I may have explained before? If you were able to keep up with it and you know, count the days and say, oh, okay, this is dimension 3, this is step 3, this code has a code of 4 or 5. But if not, you know, look at it now. You know, look at the numbers and look back at the days and look at how those days were showing up for you. And now when I put it in the description below, you'll be able to have a visual of how those days, exactly how those days were written, what it added up to, and what was the reduced day. How does it make it that code, that dimensional code, the code of that day being the dimensional day. This is dimensional day 3, dimensional day 4, 5, 6, and so forth, right? So look at how that may have stood out to you, and what does that mean to you? Have you been seeing the cyclical completion in your life? What is it that is coming into a fullness for you? Or what is something that you see coming through for you? Because this is defining the theme of the cyclical completion. It may be something in your soul unfolding journey. It may be something, it's always something in the soul unfolding journey. There is definitely something unfolding in the manifold of your life, world, and affairs in this lifetime. So these dimensions that I'm giving you, the mansions, the mansions of the many mansions, the realms within the realms of our soul, right? And understand too, another level is you may be a certain dimensional soul. That's on a whole nother level. I got to talk about that a different day. But you may be a 3-dimensional soul. Somebody else may be a 4-dimensional soul, and it doesn't happen in the way that I broke it down now. Like, oh, I'm at a 5 dimension. Not because we go into 5D, that means you're a 5-dimensional soul. You could be entering into 5D and still be like a 3-dimensional soul, or a 4-dimensional soul. You definitely are shifting into another dimension of your soul. The 5D shift may definitely be helping you quantum leap boundaries, you know, quantum leap certain bounds within your soul, because there's levels within levels. Even if you're a 3-dimensional soul, there's levels within that. You can be a lower level 3-dimensional soul, and you can be a higher level 3-dimensional soul. You can be a lower level 4-dimensional soul, and you could be a high level 5-dimensional soul. But I'm not going to go too deep into that. All right, I want us to stay focused on this palindrome. So look at the dimensional access, the dimensional days, access codes, within this palindrome of the new beginnings from the 20th, from 420. Remember, 420 wasn't just smoke day. It was also get into your palindrome vortex day. So those of us who are in the vortex, you know, looking to see what was showing up for you. And I'm excited to kind of hear from you, for those who understand these days and how it has aligned with you in your timeline, how it aligns with you. How does it speak to you in your journey and what you're doing? Do you see it showing you the specific coordinates within your soul, right? We have destined coordinates in these numerology codes, right? This numerology divination, however you want to look at it, it helps to put us on track, put us on the map, and put us on track. Get in your dimension, get in your dimension of many mansions, and see where it takes you. So this is the part 2 of the dimensional lines within our lifetime. So look at the multiple aspects. Faithfully, you can see it on multiple aspects. It's not just one way. So see the multiple ways, from the micro to the macro, on how you're seeing your lifeline, your lifetime, and how you are pushing and shifting timelines within your lifetime. Right? So with that said, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Share if you dare, comment, and share what your dimensional aspects are and how do you see that showing up for you. So have fun, be safe, each one reach one, teach one. If you don't know where to start, start in your big, beautiful heart, while finding the beauty in life, like these flowers behind me. And shine your light from the inside out. Be that candle that lights the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Light it up in your dimensional timeline. Peace, love, and light.